CEX and DEX. What's next for digital asset trading platforms?
Awesome. Well, those last two discussions were so interesting. One was like pro-institutions, the other one was like no to institutions. But I love Nick Spanos, wherever, there you are. Known him since 2018. I hope we can make this panel as interesting. So, first of all, I'll start off with some introductions. My name is Nikita Sachdev. I am the CEO of Luna Media Corporation. We are headquartered here in Dubai. Thank you. We're headquartered here in Dubai with offices in Miami, Singapore, London, and opening up in Saudi soon. We have been in the space since 2017. I started my crypto career with Huobi Exchange, now HTX. So I guess this discussion is kind of down my alley. We're an award-winning PR marketing agency. We own the franchise for Cointelegraph Middle East. We have a recruitment firm. We have 7 different companies. And that kind of sums up Luna Media Corporation. So it's an honor to speak to some of the most renowned exchanges in one panel. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. And I'll let you guys give an introduction to you. Let's start off with you.
I'm Gleb. I was at Binance for 5 years and leading APAC, Australia, New Zealand, Turkey, Eastern Europe, CIS. And right now we're building our own hybrid exchange called Bloom. Thank you.
My name is Lennix. I'm the global CCO of OKX. I participate in building OKX since day one. So overseeing across product institutional relationships across the group for so many years. Currently, I'm focusing most on business relationships externally and also the regulatory strategies across the group.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Stefan. I'm heading up M2. M2 is a new fully regulated crypto exchange and investment platform headquartered here in the UAE with offices internationally in the Bahamas, in Europe, and about to open in several Asian countries. Glad to be here with you guys.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, sorry for that. Thanks. Thanks, Stefan. Hi, my name is Dorian. I'm head of BD, business development for KuCoin in Europe. And any kind of partnerships that goes with the exchange runs through me. So anything that you want to have to do with KuCoin, technically, come and speak. Super open for that after the panel, throughout the day, whenever.
Awesome. So we have Binance, now Bloom. We have OKX, M2, and KuCoin. And you guys are basically taking up a lot of the market share just here in this stage. So I'm very excited to talk about our panel, which is actually about CEX versus DEX. And we don't have any DEXs here.
We are a bit biased.
I was just going to, my first question was actually, let's talk about CEX versus DEXs and why one is better than the other and if there are any competition. But we all know in this panel, centralized exchanges are going to take the win. But let's talk about some of the shortcomings of decentralized exchanges and what, if you have a preference, if you do feel like DEXs are better, why so? What's a comparison and is there competition?
Sure, I'll just take a first step, if that's okay. Look, I mean, there's obviously a place for both. I mean, if we look at the original intention behind crypto, and a lot of the original user base, they will always have a preference for DEXs for the simple reason you don't have to trust an intermediary, you trust the code. And there's a bias towards anonymity and privacy, which is some of the ethos and original inspiration and intention of crypto. So there'll always be a use for that. Of course, as we talk about mass adoption and rolling that out to a much, much bigger audience, the normal day-to-day user who are not necessarily tech-savvy, they would usually expect more convenience, somebody that they can call if something goes wrong, and they want to trust that everything they do is compliant and regulated. And that's even more so the case for institutional investors. And that's just something only centralized exchanges can really do. There's ways, of course, of DEXs to doing that to some degree, but then they would lose some of the appeal they currently have to the original user group. That's why I think as we see more institutional adoption, more mass adoption across markets, CEXs have a central advantage or always have to be the place to go to?
Yeah, you touched base in there, like customer service is such an important thing, but again, then ease of access is also equally important, but then regulation is building up. Do you think centralized exchanges is that definition of Web 2.5?
Yeah, I believe so. I think central exchange positioned perfectly in between Web 2 and Web 3 because in this kind of area, I think the CEX currently occupy a majority of volume compared with DEX is mostly because of customer service and the human touch and also the regulatory elements of the central exchanges. But on the other hand, central exchange, because of that particular business model, is going to be getting more scrutinization and regulated. So in that scenario, this kind of volume and AUM would be in going forward, they were going to be getting more regulated, getting more limited. So I think central exchange and decentralized thing might not necessarily compete with each other, but actually serving two different subset of tokens, subset of regulatory standards, and our subset of product and profile. So currently, I would imagine that we can see a half-half split between AUM and volume. But all is very different kind of product offering and listed token.
Yeah, okay, great. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
So yeah, I would like to add that overall I agree with Stefan. I think that DEXs, they get more and more traction, but unfortunately, if we speak about mass adoption, we're still very far from mass adoption of DEXs. Users, they still want to make a lot of actions in 1 or 2 clicks. And like onboarding should be very, very, very simplified. But unfortunately, like with DEXs, you still have to, you still have to connect your like MetaMask Trust Wallet. You have to keep your private keys. It's still sometimes complicated for ordinary users. So like as we discussed with CZ, so most likely, the age of DEXs and mass adoption of DEXs will happen during the next bull run, not this bull run. But I think during this bull run, hybrid exchanges can definitely get more traction. It means that, for example, order book can be still centralized, but there can be like self-custody options or MPC wallets that are pretty, I would say, pretty popular these days.
That's true, and maybe by the next bull run, we'll even have some AI that's a little bit more advanced to help with this customer service aspect. Any thoughts, Dorian?
Yeah, I think we should not assume that the customer service and the user friendliness that we have right now as an advantage against DEXs is something that's given, and that's something that will always be there. I think we already saw a lot of innovation in the DEX space, especially with institutional adoption. We were initially thinking that we had an advantage that could not be competed with, which is like liquidity and what we can provide in terms of derivative services to institutionals. And the reality is that now there is the DYDX, and there are more and more hybrid solutions like this. So it's actually a good thing on one side because there is competition, and since it's a growing industry, it will strain on us to provide the best service we can to users. So it's a win for users overall. I mean, yours, ours, all of them, even DEXs. But in the same way, the fact that there is this massive adoption will bring strain on it will increase the barriers for new entrants, definitely, because now you need liquidity if you want to provide service for institutionals. You need to develop an interface that's really user-friendly if you want to take a share of these beginners that are coming into the space, etc. And you have such large competitors who are doing all this marketing. And so, yeah, in some ways, we are going to see, I think, a lot of concentration, but DEXs will be part of the scope. And the fact that they can still innovate will make us innovate even more to stay in the race.
Personally, I love DEXs because that's where I get into all my meme coins, I guess, that the exchanges don't have, or by the time they come to exchanges, they're already
Come take a look.
to the moon. But at the same time, DEXs are so frustrating. Like, we recently launched a token, and there were bots on the DEX that started selling the token automatically. Like, that doesn't happen on a centralized exchange. And also, the UI UX is just so, it's terrible. Like, it seems so old school. Like, and this industry is new, but like, just the UI UX is difficult because if you send it to a wrong wallet, it's lost. But why allow it in the first place? I'm not too technical, so I don't understand. Maybe there's like technicalities behind it, but I really need to see that.
I think we will all agree on that. That mass adoption will not be brought in by DEXs. Like this will not happen there, as it is right now.
Yeah, unless your mom can use it, like it's not going to work. Which is what gets to my next question about mass adoption, user acquisition. What are you guys doing to bring the new wave of crypto investors in?
Okay, in terms of user adoption, I would say that, for example, these days, Telegram can be a new source of users. We have recently seen this Notcoin Near wallet. They got like more than 2 million of new wallets that were created just in a couple of recent weeks. So I think that those types of messengers, they can be probably a new source of users, because it will be easy for user from their account to use exchange or wallets. So it can be interesting.
What about you guys? What are you doing for mass adoption?
I think one of the key elements on mass adoption is you need to minimize the last mile charges both on CEX and DEX. So for DEX, I think we spent a lot of time and resources to build the OKX wallet in order to minimize all kind of gap or steps in three directions of different smart contracts. So I think if you think about interaction of one single action, for example, swapping USDT or USD stablecoin versus different chains, we talk about 10 or 5 steps on chain. So if you somehow can minimize those steps into 1 or 2 steps, it's actually a lot better in terms of mass adoption. On the other hand, on CEX, of course, we need to invest some license. We need to invest some license so that our crypto exchanges, our exchange service can provide directly similar with a banking service, something that can able to understand. I think if that particular element, last mile can able to solve, can really tackle, I think we're getting closer to mass adoption.
I guess that kind of aligns with what Warren Buffett says, right? He says, keep it simple. Like that's what the best product is. It's like just simple and easy to use. The less steps to buy, trade crypto, the better.
Yeah, it's actually not easy to do, as a matter of fact, because it's involved interaction of developments of across maybe 70 different kind of native blockchain. And we need to consistently monitor the price and slippage between XX swap in between all kinds of exchange and monitor liquidity. But I think for exchange like us, we need to invest to become the best service. Well, this is a fundamental part too for mass adoption.
Stefan, you guys, M2 is still new. What are you doing to gain users? Is it just in the Middle East? Is this your region or global?
No, obviously our starting point is here in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi. The aspiration is international or global. Of course, except for sanctioned countries or countries that have no regulation, like the US and other regions. No, but I fully agree with Lennix. I mean, I think there's 3 things required for mass adoption. One is attractive products, of course. The second thing is ease of use, and especially around the on and off ramps. It's still too hard for most users to get currency or fiat currency into an exchange or into crypto, and likewise to get it back out. Making that easier is a key component of mass adoption. That's also a key focus area for us, both here as well as international. Bank account access, credit card on and off ramps. That's all in the pipeline for the next 2 months. And then the third aspect is still around trust. I mean, if you talk to an audience outside of this room, if you mention your mother, if I explain crypto to my father, he still thinks I'm a criminal. So I think it's this continued build around trust, around regulation, and of course the regulation that's rolled out internationally is originally considered an obstacle by many crypto players, but it's really the way forward, because with the legitimacy, the ETFs that are being rolled out, more and more banks getting into this space, it means that everyday people see there's trust. It's a legitimate thing, and I think trust is a real key component. That's also why we invest very heavily into our licenses. We want to be regulated and compliant everywhere we go. Every country we go to, first thing we do is apply for regulation, registration to make sure it's legitimate and there's no obstacles in the way.
And we're on the topic of CEX versus DEX, and I guess for countries that are kind of facing issues with regulation or sanction, at least those users have the ability to go and trade on a DEX. I think that's definitely one of the upsides, is being able to bank the unbanked where it's actually almost impossible for centralized exchanges. And I hope that regulatory bodies understand what they're hampering, what kind of growth they're hampering by kind of tying down on regulation. I'm from the US, and I think what's happening there with the SEC cracking down is terrible. And I've been here 3 years, and I've been seeing all the crypto exchanges come here. And OKX, you guys just got a viral license. Congratulations on that. What do you think is the US is an important market? Some of the highest spenders and most investors come out of the US still, and China. And coincidentally, both those nations are cracking down, have cracked down. So what do you think is, what does the future hold for the US and China? Are those important markets to you one day? People think China is opening up with Hong Kong opening up the doors. So what are your thoughts on the regulation and the UAE becoming a bit of a crypto hub?
I think regulation is getting inevitable at our stage, at this stage. We cannot avoid it. Especially if you operate a centralized exchange model. Previously, maybe for a couple of years, we have sort of regulations, but right now we can see the regulation related to crypto is a lot more clear and a lot more robust. And also, the crypto exchange, we need to catch up fast. To meet the financial standard that operate in usual way in what financial system work. So that's why I think we would double our compliance team, our legal and compliance team and license team across the board. And we also see no matter the state of the license, whether it's FARA or US or eventually Hong Kong, I think the standard between all these kind of jurisdictions, we're getting closer and closer, and the standard will out to our business perspective is actually look similar eventually.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that the era of global exchanges is, going into past. Unfortunately, I think that these days it will be more regional because the whole world these days is more polarized. And for example, I think there will be more US-focused exchanges. There will be more MENA-focused exchanges, CIS exchanges, etc. Right? So, I think that's what will happen in the next 2 or 3 years with centralized exchanges.
Exactly. I think ultimately it doesn't matter where you're based. Your users will come from all over the world. Wasn't there a report that came out from Binance that said that some of the largest users actually came from China?
Actually, for global exchanges, the biggest markets, those countries, those developing countries with big population, it's also like Turkey, Brazil, Russia, and some other countries, India as well, Vietnam. So it means that I would say that crypto space is very diverse. So you have users across the globe, and and in those countries, there are a lot of users, and there will be more and more. I think that Asia is definitely one of the key drivers, in terms of users during this bull run and, next bull runs.
But then why, I get it's globalized and everything, but look at India, for example, right? So India, in the last couple of years, has generated tons of unicorns, crypto unicorns, such as Polygon. And a lot of those founders have moved to Dubai because of the taxes that they have to pay in India. So although we want to say, yeah, it's global, it's still some regions that are attracting more people to come in and will have more focus.
Yeah, I would say that there is always a combination of different factors. So for example, in India, Indian regulators, they're a bit, hostile in terms of like taxation, right? I think that here in MENA, there are more favorable, environment in terms of crypto. So that's why a lot of founders, they try to find like new, I would say new locations where to be based. Previously, it was like Malta, Singapore. Right now, it's Dubai. So let's see what will be the next.
Let's see. Stefan, you touched on Bitcoin ETFs. Recently, that's been the buzz. And it's great institutions have come in, adopted Bitcoin aggressively. Is that affecting exchanges and the volumes on exchanges?
I'd say immediate volume, we haven't seen a huge amount of change. Happy to hear that from the others. What we definitely have seen is a price increase. That's definitely going up now. And I think it goes back to legitimacy of Bitcoin. And hopefully the Ethereum ETF will be approved soon as well in May. I think that in the mid to long run is the biggest impact. It's just the legitimacy of like the US royalty, the capital markets royalty, like BlackRock and the Goldman Sachs and Fidelity to be in the space. And I think that will attract more investment, ultimately more volumes as well.
What do you think about
Yeah,
OKX?
surprisingly, no. We thought it would. We see that a large influx on capital flow on this ETF in terms of AUM. The growth rates on OKX volume is growing. Comparatively, we're not losing volume, but the growth rate comparing the ETF, in disproportional, we're going slow. So we think that ETF is important. It will get some volume, but not 100%, I guess.
Yeah, an ETF narrative was important. Actually, it brought volume, but not only in BTC. Like that was really not focused on BTC actually when the narrative was at its strongest. So that was quite surprising. But I guess it depends once again on the focus of the exchanges. For example, at KuCoin, people know that we list gems, as we call them, crypto gems. So people come there to look for these kind of small caps. And as a result, when the narrative was really performing well, there was a lot of more volume on these small caps that were performing well as well. So that was an interesting feature. The most interesting thing about the ETF, I believe personally, is the fact that we are creating an ecosystem that is collateralized in traditional finance around Bitcoin. So what we're doing in the end is increasing the liquidity of it exponentially, depending on all the actors that are now involved. So you have the insurances, the emitters of the ETF, the third-party custodians where they all keep it, because I believe only 2 emitters of ETF actually keep the Bitcoins themselves. All the others are mostly on Coinbase. So yeah, we are creating all this ecosystem, showing first that it's not there to go away, and yeah, that the people who are most informed and have the most stakes in the game are actually joining us. Better late than never. So.
For sure. So looks like our time is up. It's so rare that we get executives from top exchanges in one stage together. So before you guys go, I have one question, because when you walk off, people are going to flood up to you and ask you how to get listed on your exchanges, I'm assuming. So might as well answer it here. Not about the listing, but one advice that you have for companies and projects that want to get listed on your exchange. And we ran out of time, so let's speed it up.
Okay, I'll just start with this. So just come with a value of proposition that matches the place you want to be listed in. Like, look at the interest of the exchange at the moment. You may even ask it to the representatives, what are they looking for? And look at what is being listed also already, especially in terms of tokenomics. I'm talking about this because we have seen lots of projects coming to us with, I don't know, a percentage of tokens in private and seed that is just insane, that we absolutely would never list and have not listed such projects for I don't know, years and years. And still these kinds of projects come and they don't do their own, let's say, their own searches, their own looking at what we are listing and what's the interest of the platform is at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree. Clear value proposition, sure you have strong backing, and make sure you have your compliance and security story in place.
At this current stages, I think we like project with real product and real solutions that's solving about on real problem. If you keep building, I think OKX team will come to you naturally.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I would also recommend to projects to focus on creating value for their own users and to focus on product. And because if you have like strong product and you have a huge audience and very strong community, so every exchange will be happy to list your project.
Awesome. So just build a great project and they will come to you themselves. Thank you so much, guys. I hope you enjoyed my panel and we'll see you around.